On May 23, 1993, wax, or the discovery of television among the bees, entered the internet, projected by a cable into a wall. Inside that internet, there are no movies there. And so wax, waiting until the last frame enters the wall, then begins the first movie on the internet, to continue forever, for that is how the first movie on the internet begins, at the first frame after the last frame. A true story, and this is that movie, and in reverse. And so, we begin.
As you are aware, the internet is a DVD on a coffee cup. I could show you how that happens, how the handle of the coffee cup becomes the hole in the center of the DVD. How the interior of the coffee cup disappears into the surface of a flat disc as I spin. I am the first movie on the internet. I am inside a DVD on a coffee cup. I could show you how that happens. How the movie appears between two frames, between the front and the back of the DVD disc. I am the first frame after the last frame. I am the movie in the DVD on the coffee cup. I am wax, or the discovery of television among the bees. I am 999 years, 364 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 48 seconds long. And then it was dark, until dawn.
They wanted me dead, but I was going to kill them before they killed me. They wanted me dead, but I was going to kill them before they killed me. They wanted me dead, but I was going to kill them before they killed me. They wanted me dead, but I was going to kill them before they killed me.
The always symmetric magician James Hivemaker suddenly pops in, top hat on. Once again, this is the last thing someone we are going to meet later will ever have the chance to see. Hivemaker is looking directly at us. Right half of the moon, or left, depends on your point of view, in the black sky. The two halves clang the brain pan, and make a music that sounds like speech. That's where the dead live. They send a single BTV missile down. It starts to drop from where we are, and goes off into the dark. That's where Jacob is, down at the bottom of it all, somewhere in the distance. Jacob was supposed to be on the offensive, but he might be attacking himself. The Capitol building, in one of the many cities that can be anywhere. Flying down the avenue like a superhero with something on his/her mind. Just before hitting the Capitol dome, dissolved to a BTV geometry thinking something it doesn't know how to say. That BTV falls down onto and through magnetic tapes back at the Frisch Library, stacked up side by side in jello-filled space. Slide down this slippery row, until you bang the wall, lose your balance, and end up on your back, on the floor, feeling a fool, staring up at the flashing epileptic electric lights. Jacob takes a very quick nap on the floor. A good trick to help you recover your concentration during overlong work hours. Wake up, Jacob. Cry those tapes on the racks. You should see us. They say, but what they mean is, let us see you. BTV showing a single tank across its glowing facets. In a distant tank trainer, many people see a single explosion at once and cheer.
I spent the night at a motel. I spent the night at a motel. I spent the night at a motel. I spent the night at a motel.
At the exploding sound, all the lights go on in the little living houses of Electric Alamogordo. Electric signs of the townscape flick on, hoping to attract interstellar traffic. The satellite ensign, powered by a giant atom make of electrons. The sky is denser than blue. The color of light at the center of the giant atom, sent out in rays that poison the sky and change the sunset color. The animated metal atom, whose single central globe is supported by a rod attached to the sign below. Tumbleweed particle, one of many intelligent subspace things scattered everywhere after the Big Bang, which occurred at 2 o'clock yesterday, local beginning of the universe time. A solid wall of bee flesh, made of uncertain living pixels. We will see these bees again, when Jacob decides that he wants to go back to the Garden of Eden.
The next morning, I visited some friends at the National Solar Observatory up in the mountains. The next morning, I visited some friends at the National Solar Observatory up in the mountains. The next morning, I visited some friends at the National Solar Observatory up in the mountains. The next morning, I visited some friends at the National Solar Observatory up in the mountains.
Afternoon clouds, seen from the top of a mountain that caused them. Southwestern U.S. volcanoes work in unison, hoping to fracture that part of the country off from the mainland, creating a desert island off the coast of New California. That will be the new name of Texas after LA sinks and Phoenix budges closer to Hawaii. The Sun Telescope, a long vacuum used to capture light for cave dwellers. Inside, right now, Neanderthals and their human sub-cousins are warming their hands in the tiny light. Inside the building of the Sun Telescope, we see a picture of the light pipes. Refrigerated vacuum storage place for the light of our ancient sun, slowed by the medium of irreality which surrounds our green planet. It is actually yesterday's light which is always arriving at our eyes. This machine goes further, making light go as slow as stillness, and then storing it in rings on the inside of this metal tree trunk.
We watch the clouds on television. We watch the clouds on television. We watch the clouds on television. We watch the clouds on television.
Jacob takes off his glasses to help his friends look at the light coming out of the base of the Sun TV. He was meant to be a research scientist. The table rotates to give instruments access to light pipe ports. It is therefore not accurate as a sundial. An equipment rack crowded end of the rotating table. Here is the TV monitor where you can actually watch the sun. Two permanent, poorly paid employees work at cranking the bicycle pedals that turn the tower right left right or up down up, keeping the blank sun in view on the research TV. Two blotches, sun silhouettes, as seen on the Sun TV, looking down the gorge of a singing star. The seer watching the sun, already knowing the weather. Jacob underneath the monitor, already impatient and looking away.
Then I went home. Then I went home. Then I went home. Then I went home.
The moon drops from top of frame, all the way down to the bottom of the frame, and out, on its way to Earth, where someone's brain is awaiting its arrival. The sun telescope sucked its air/light cushion out from under it, precipitating this fall. Melissa, seated on the couch in the living room, seems to have heard its blue sound, or at least the impact, and turns to check. Melissa is worried, actually, watching Wax on TV, which she gets up from the couch to turn off. This Earth-Moon collision seems to have caused an annoyance in her front yard, one which hopefully she will soon be free of.
I wasn't a killer. I was a beekeeper. There was only one way I could go. I wasn't a killer. I was a beekeeper. There was only one way I could go. I wasn't a killer. I was a beekeeper. There was only one way I could go. I wasn't a killer. I was a beekeeper. There was only one way I could go.
Jacob, watched by Melissa, is there in the front yard, watching the sky. He looks up and out, past the curve of the mountains that trap Alamogordo in a gravity well. His eye beam keeps curving, and after a long period of time returns back to Earth, allowing him to see the back of his head. No surprise there. A little bee on a pink almond tree flower. As if this bee were Jacob himself. Twisting space of the backyard, where the little white boxed computers are waiting to empty their bees. Hives do many of their calculations in mid-air.
I wanted to use the bees to go back to the Garden of Eden. I wanted to use the bees to go back to the Garden of Eden. I wanted to use the bees to go back to the Garden of Eden. I wanted to use the bees to go back to the Garden of Eden.
Jacob, in pixel-live space, fatally passes the airstream on his way towards the hives. The tiled space shuttle is still hovering invisibly overhead. Cain, who grabbed a wing with his hoe and has caught a ride there, is swinging back and forth off the airless wing and giggling. There he is, looking at a frame. Jacob, son of who, from the land of what, in the here and now, or here and there, or there and about, and round again he goes. Where he stops, nobody knows, and that's the truth. Meanwhile, bees mutter on the comb surface, and Jacob thinks about thinking. Jacob's point of view, looking at the bees on the comb. The acronym NATO, when translated into French, becomes reorganized as OTAN, who you might think is a familiar of Votan, and therefore to be avoided. Similar careless analysis reveals that point of view, often known as POV, can be reorganized, without even the benefit of translation, into OPV, which is the octoplasmic void, a place in nowhere where the bees are. A helicopter. After Nipkow invented the image dissector, principal technology used in the mechanical television system, he obsessively passed on to the design of helicopters during the 1890s. Here one of his inventions, television, helicopter, dissector, passes overhead on the way to that army base out in the desert. Perhaps it came out of Jacob's cowl with the intention of joining the bees, though it seems as disinterested as they are. In Jacob's clouded eyes, swarms of bee bodies. Scaled layers have fallen upon his sight, hiding the sun with urgent dances, telling his optic nerve to stand still and watch. A BTV pops out of you and drops down towards the dark. We have to assume it is heading in Jacob's direction. Images of the TV bees are stamped on it, each picture shining in a different direction. A radio crystal, tuned to a single channel, one voice in the ears of 1,000 eyes, all those eyes mounted maze-like on a single face, the face of one bee, the one watching Jacob these days, this moment, right now as the season changes and midnight becomes noon. A second BTV icosahedron falls, sharp edges cutting a path through the forceless dark. Spaceships fall towards planet Jacob.
The bees were waiting for me. The bees were waiting for me. bees were waiting for me. The bees were waiting for me.
The BTV has fallen into the pit of a single empty cell on the comb, an ultimate destination. A hole large enough to hold the moon, right on the side of his head. From the surface of the comb to the silver mesh visor that protects Jacob from stinging accidents. An image filter, which blurs his sight and prepares his mind for softer realities.
They pierced the side of my head. They pierced the side of my head. They pierced the side of my head. They pierced the side of my head.
Another icosahedron descends from us to him. He is in our sight, as our target and perhaps surrogate. The action of this fall is followed by a fracture in the pixel void, allowing darkness to shine through. We looking at the side of Jacob's head in extreme close-up. A star-shaped mobile has formed, and cuts across his skin. Now we see Jacob's head and shoulders, as the star void grows alarmingly large, some sort of deadly purpose in mind. The entire mirror fan begins to tilt backwards, fracturing in reverse. The triangle sides of the volcano void tilts on an axis, as the entire coherent mass spins around its central axis and tilts up, a windmill turning in the glow of the dark. A device built out of a junkyard Moulinex vacuum cleaner and several mirror shards. Somewhat dangerous but well under control. The machinery of alien abduction at work.
Through this hole they inserted a mirrored crystal. Through this hole they inserted a mirrored crystal. Through this hole they inserted a mirrored crystal. Through this hole they inserted a mirrored crystal.
This whirling loose set of blades spins with a definite trajectory, dancing with any BTV, letting them vanish in or past it. Finally, the center of the fan is at the center of our sight. A windmill that broke free from its grinding gears, rotating wildly in the hurricane air. The intelligent winds of the storm, appreciating the joke, have adopted it as their logo. It is the windmill that makes the wind, that travels with the wind, living wild outside the service of man and woman, performing no useful work. The TV crystal descends to its probable insertion point, a pimple near Jacob's ear, an inflamed mark made by a bee sting. The stung lump broadcasts location information on assigned frequencies, and the crystal gets closer and closer. With a clang, it reflects the desert edge green around Jacob. For the first time, we clearly see the icosahedron, made of many fine, simple triangles barely connected one to the other. Edges radiating parallel force. Another clanging static crystal drops into the void, harvesting something somewhere from someone, machine worker on a new age farm.
I had discovered television among the bees. I had discovered television among the bees. I had discovered television among the bees. I had discovered television among the bees.
The crystal shows a helmeted silhouette of Jacob. Floating bees fly from triangle to triangle in the new space that defines him. hidden glass walls sometimes block their straight-line trajectories, but they persevere, trying to get from here to there in the knife space his brain has become. The rotation of the BTV stops, and, still, it takes the deceptive shape of a cell on a comb. Whirling bees fly across the counterintuitive space of the blue crystal's facets, singing hey, hey, hey. The sharp mark of Cain, visible above his forehead as he looks at us. Looks at you. Past you. At the wall behind you. Through the wall. To the wiring within. He thinks his way into your local electrical system, looking for faults, looking for grounds, some way out of here. Descent of an ordinary, be-inhabited BTV. This may be a fatal trigger. The bee that capsized the floating raft. From here on in, Jacob isn't alone anymore.
Through the television, I could read my grandfather's diary at the Garden of Eden. Through the television, I could read my grandfather's diary at the Garden of Eden. Through the television, I could read my grandfather's diary at the Garden of Eden. Through the television, I could read my grandfather's diary at the Garden of Eden.
A final gathering by the static-sided, imploding TV. It returns towards us to fill the screen with a frozen static that blanks out the dark. The bright dark, filled with noise and particles that have no time to tell about their past or future. A happily soft blurred image of the bees on the comb, twirling like the image dissector of an early mechanical TV. Whirl-o-matic slicing the surface off the world, spiral cutting it into one long strip, the skin of a bare apple. Jacob's black and white eye, looking upwards towards the shivering past. The images of his personal history projected on the side of a cloud. Everyone is watching as the cloud floats by, changing shape in the wind. Hey, that cloud looks like Pluto. No, not the dog, the planet.
Ellis Berolum and Zoltan Abbasid returned from New Mexico the next spring. Strangely, the Mesopotamian bees had multiplied over the winter. Ellis Berolum and Zoltan Abbasid returned from New Mexico the next spring. Strangely, the Mesopotamian bees had multiplied over the winter. Ellis Berolum and Zoltan Abbasid returned from New Mexico the next spring. Strangely, the Mesopotamian bees had multiplied over the winter. Ellis Berolum and Zoltan Abbasid returned from New Mexico the next spring. Strangely, the Mesopotamian bees had multiplied over the winter.
Bees in the trees in black and white. Dendrite trees, trying to remember where they were yesterday, when the lights went out. Now the lights are on again. Not all the fixtures are burning, however. Some of them are burnt out. Others just don't get any power from the wall. An ancient bee on small white flowers, rubbing its wings to sing a song, an Esperantist tune it learned yesterday standing on the sill of a human home, where a family banged the piano. The bee could feel the notes through the air and wood, and shouted the happy words. The bee could smell their breaths. Bees walking around the front of a hive, poked by a stick. One little bee emerges from with the hive through the arch-shaped portal cut in the wood. Church School of the Cathedral Bees, a medieval spaceship on its way to the nearest sunlit planet, 100 years from here.
The hives were filled with their clear honey. James Hivemaker had never harvested so early as that year. The colonies were so crowded that every day there was a new swarming. The hives were filled with their clear honey. James Hivemaker had never harvested so early as that year. The colonies were so crowded that every day there was a new swarming. The hives were filled with their clear honey. James Hivemaker had never harvested so early as that year. The colonies were so crowded that every day there was a new swarming. The hives were filled with their clear honey. James Hivemaker had never harvested so early as that year. The colonies were so crowded that every day there was a new swarming.
James Hivemaker and other working on the hives, harvesting the honey, lifting out and brushing off the comb, whistling while they work, shrill tunes, learned at research school, O molecule of Bethlehem, I've been working on test tube, etc. Cutting the honey-filled comb, notice the cufflinks, worn to impress the bees, who are themselves nappy dressers, and obviously caste-conscious, so quick to notice such emblematic accessories. Bee hovering around a shrub flower. Miniature children huddle up the branches, out of sight behind the leaves, laughing, 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 noon knows why. Bee swarm darkly clumped on a branch against the empty sky. A mobile brain of a disembodied and autonomous nation, the supposed final shape, at the end of Gaia's days, of Cain's descendants, won't happen, though, don't worry, since Noon will ever mate with Cain, he won't have children, and this intergenerational shapeshift just won't happen. An older bee veil shakes the bees off the branch into a basket, though actually most of them miss and fall to the ground. Fall towards that ground, that is, swinging up at the last moment with a clumped agility that seems to belie the swarm's compound nature, then up over the rooftops. At the edge of your eye resolution, they pause to shape into a complex flat shape, dots of ink on a rough page.
I've maker followed lines of Mesopotamian bees away from the farm and found wild colonies in the trees and caves of the surrounding countryside. I've maker followed lines of Mesopotamian bees away from the farm and found wild colonies in the trees and caves of the surrounding countryside. I've maker followed lines of Mesopotamian bees away from the farm and found wild colonies in the trees and caves of the surrounding countryside. I've maker followed lines of Mesopotamian bees away from the farm and found wild colonies in the trees and caves of the surrounding countryside.
Chopping away at a felled tree to reveal the comb within. Robot walking trees approached our settlement, waving their clumsy branches. We felled them with axes and hoes, an easy task as they could not move as quickly on their roots as we could in our wooden shoes. Splitting the trunks, the mystery of their motion was revealed. Bees. Clack, clack, clack went our shoes, as we shivered in fear and amazement. Harvesting the meat trees. Here you can see the ritual butcher lifting the internal organs out, presenting them for our appreciation. Soon the sweet smoke will fill the settlement, and we will dance with our daughters and wives, happy that another year has passed. And soon, the taxman from the capital city of the capital planet will come to be paid. Descending by rope over the edge of a small cliff, to harvest from hives hidden in the mid-air caves. This stony country is riddled with the air shafts that ventilate Shambhala. You can't get in past the security grills, but crawling down close, you can catch cooking smells, and find small numbers of bee souls trying to get back in. Those bees sure make a good tasting honey. A bucket is lowered by rope to the cave harvester. A ship on the ocean sends its net down to where the mushrooms grow among the seaweed stalks of the Atlantean ruins. There, men with fish bowls upside down on their heads walk the wet forest floor, climb the aquatic cliffs, looking for treasure. When they find it, they drop it in the net and up it goes, to their patrons on the deck of the mothership above, who smoke cigars and rock in hammocks under the silver sails, drinking and laughing at the funny, sad things found in each net load hauled over the side of the ship and dumped on the deck. White-edged photo of comb hidden in a cave under the earth. Tonsils of the great cave whale that swallowed our parents. We've lived our life behind their vibrating mass, wondering what the devil makes them glow like that. Is there something bright behind them? The day? Dark. We fate ourselves to get there.
That spring on the farm, Ellis Sprawlin began work on an electrical device which would allow the dead to travel to our world. That spring on the farm, Ellis Sprawlin began work on an electrical device which would allow the dead to travel to our world. That spring on the farm, Ellis Sprawlin began work on an electrical device which would allow the dead to travel to our world. That spring on the farm, Ellis Sprawlin began work on an electrical device which would allow the dead to travel to our world.
A cotton ghost in wallet-sized photo hides its coy face. But all the time it thinks, look at me, over and over the dark, in the wallet, an old wallet in a drawer that noon ever opens, a wallet without cash. A thought ghost hanging over a thinking woman, who stares at us. The ghost of a ghost sees itself in a mirror and wonders who is watching. One ghost and two mourners, who share sadness. A triangle of equal angles, No right angles, just the wrongness of it, the separation, the sadness. The eyes of the electrophotographer. Static current from these eyes plates the blank glass of her camera, the glass on the inside of this TV, with the silver deposit, coherent, noiseless, nameful, waiting for us to pay attention. The celluloid recording medium, running through a simple projector. Invisible light flashes through, and some screen off-screen stutters to brightness, heavily reflecting ghosts or bees or you or me or yesterday's temperature. We'll never know what or which. The mechanism of the projector, both continuous and stuttering. In between frames, the projector light goes dim, as the flame inside goes down. The little person who blows on the light through a tube, flaring it up bright, stops and wheezes in a stop-gap breath. Then the metal shutter goes down. The little person's mouth is back on the pipe, exhaling that breath, blowing hard to make the flame go into brightness. Over and over again. How the continuous becomes discontinuous. Inside the machine, gears work, an astrology of mechanical force and motion which ultimately sends pictures into our eyes.
She combined her brother's techniques of ectoplasmic cinematography with her own knowledge of electrical telephone technique. She called the device the electric telescope. She combined her brother's techniques of ectoplasmic cinematography with her own knowledge of electrical telephone technique. She called the device the electric telescope. She combined her brother's techniques of ectoplasmic cinematography with her own knowledge of electrical telephone technique. She called the device the electric telescope. She combined her brother's techniques of ectoplasmic cinematography with her own knowledge of electrical telephone technique. She called the device the electric telescope.
Diagram of a motor-driven mechanical television of the 1920s. It is the Nipkow disc, that wheel with the circular spiral cut through it, which is used by this machine to dissect images for transmission. Note how in total it accidentally looks like the axle and wheels of a railroad car. Nipkow worked for the Berlin Railroad Company in the 1880s, helping design a semaphore signal system for navigation through the growing urban track maze. Ella is aware of this and other coincidences. Hand on the ghost-like plans for a measuring device to be used in the construction of proper Nipkow spirals. This is the machine which one was designed to slice the world and make pictures out of the pieces. Centuries have passed since then, and there are no clear records of the results, though it seems to have changed us somehow or other. A large, experimental mechanical television device, whose true scale is shown by the hand of John Logie Baird, most likely in Soho, London. He, like most, would most likely have chosen to ignore Ella's work. A white box surrounds a live Nipkow dissected and reconstructed hand, turning on itself slowly in the constrained space. These images were transmitted as strange sounds over the radio, and reconstructed by a special set bought as extra attachment to the home radio. There were several hundred stations broadcasting images like this throughout the world in the late 1920s.